Welcome back, everyone. In this video, we're going to continue talking about strategies for helping children become more comfortable trying new foods. How we talk about and describe food might be the most important strategy we have when trying to encourage children to develop positive relationships with food. How we, as adults, talk about food and teach children to talk about food is one of the biggest factors that can impact how children approach, react to, and even understand food. By carefully considering the language being used when working with food and children of any age, we are trying to help students be able to describe their experience beyond good, bad, like, and dislike, and develop neutral expectations about new foods. To explore exactly what we mean, let's explore a general example of how people often talk about the following foods: chilies versus lemons versus olives. We have chosen these examples as they are foods that children already likely associate with their flavor characteristics. Chilies are spicy. Some people like spicy things. Some people don't. But generally, we don't talk about chilies as good or bad or gross or delicious. They're just spicy. Lemons are sour. Some people like sour things. Some people don't. Lemons generally aren't good or bad or gross or delicious. They're just sour. But olives, which are salty, rich, and strong flavored, more often than not, people describe olives in terms of whether or not they like or dislike them, and generally, people have strong feelings about olives one way or another. As an experiment, let's think about what your class would say if you asked them what they think of olives. I bet they'll be able to tell you if they like them or not, and many will likely describe them as gross or bad or ew, or maybe even yummy. But most likely won't be able to actually describe what olives taste like. So for a moment, picture yourself as a child who has never tried olives before. All you really know about them is how other people have talked about them. And in the case of olives, it is often negative, preferential language. For example, olives are the worst pizza topping, or I can't stand olives. So in this example, what motivation would you have as a child to actually try them? I hope you can see, using this example, how the language children hear adults using with all types of foods could easily impact the way they form opinions around those foods, whether they've tried them or not. There's a big difference between saying, I don't like olives are gross, versus olives are very salty and have a strong flavor. I don't really like super salty things, or I struggle with things that have such a strong flavor. In the first scenario, a child hears, I don't like olives are gross. Likely, they're going to conclude they're not interested in trying olives because they don't like gross things, which is very understandable. Versus, olives are very salty and have a strong flavor, where their decision will be based on whether or not they want to experience a salty food with a strong flavor. It's just not constructive to say something is gross. At Growing Chefs, we don't allow the use of gross or disgusting or ew, because those are personal preferences, and someone else may not feel the same way. Instead, think about why you don't like it. Is it too soft? Is there too much salt? Or is it an unappealing smell or taste? Have you had a bad experience with a similar food? By normalizing that it's okay not to like a food, and we all have foods we don't like, we can help children to be more open to try a variety of foods and have new experiences, making them more positive. It doesn't have to be a big deal to try something you don't like. And by encouraging children to be able to identify and describe what tastes they're experiencing, they'll be able to begin to understand why they don't like certain foods and that it's possible to manipulate and change the flavors of some foods. Another classic example we come across a lot is tomatoes. Many children will say, I don't like tomatoes, versus, I don't like the texture of raw tomatoes, but I like when they're blended into a smooth sauce for spaghetti or pizza, or even ketchup. There's a big difference between saying something isn't good and saying we don't like something. The first step of putting this strategy into action is to start paying attention to how we talk about and describe foods we like and don't like to ensure we're modeling good food language. Next, we can begin to encourage children not to declare that any food isn't good and instead help them to express why they like or don't like something. In our next video, we'll talk about putting this theory into action when encouraging children of different ages to taste and try new foods. See you soon.